Hi, this is Mr. Westeros, it's most stylish, and this is a video produced by my AS students analysing Nazi ideology. They're starting off each time thinking about what was Nazi ideology, then they're saying why it was popular, and then how they think it might have altered life in Nazi Germany. Obviously, I'm adding a few thoughts of my own as we go through, but the main skill you have to do is keep pausing the tape, as they used to say, pause the tape and take notes. So there you go. Okay, let's go. Yeah, I think this is a pretty good description. The only thing I'd add, perhaps, is that you could say that struggle's a way of rooting out the lesser, and that's lesser in inverted commas, elements of society. So by having a struggle, the lesser people will be rooted out. But no, I think this is pretty good. Pause the tape and take notes. Yeah, this is really good too. The only thing I'd add, perhaps, is that maybe that the war caused resentment, and many Germans felt that they wanted to right the wrongs of the First World War. Pause the tape and take notes. Yep, good stuff again. Only thing I'd add to this is that perhaps it meant that rearmament was going to be a prime aim. Obviously, to make this struggle, violence and war possibility, they had to rearm, and obviously this was good news for the army. Pause the tape and take notes. Yeah, pretty good this. I guess as well you could add that Hitler believed that his own iron will had helped him to kind of come through the First World War and to come in as Germany's saviour. His will had been strong enough, and that's what he wanted from the people of Germany. Pause the tape. And good again, I guess just to add on that with Hitler's guardianship, the will of the people would make Germany great. And that was certainly a key theme in Nazi propaganda. Pause the tape. Yeah, good this. I think obviously there were only 28 Gestapo officers in the whole country. There were just 28 Gestapo officers for the Würzburg region. But what it did do is it made people feel that they could be part of some of this sense of unity, which we'll see with the Volksgemeinschaft later. Also, perhaps it made Germany a different place to live because you had to fear everybody and not just the Gestapo, because everybody believed it was within their power to kind of make the country better, and they were prepared to denunciate each other for it. Pause the tape. Yeah, good stuff this. All I'd say is that perhaps the nationalism means believing in your country and making it great, and aggressive means that you're going to try and take over other people to make that happen. Pause the tape. Yeah, really good. All I'd say is that perhaps that they didn't want to blame themselves for losing the war, so they looked to blame someone else, and that's certainly what Hitler tried to do. And making your country great, I mean, who doesn't want to be in part of a great country? Think about the Olympics in this country this summer. Who doesn't want to be part of a great country? You can see that the idea of making Germany great was popular, definitely. Pause the tape. Obviously, a bit like the previous point, would add to the role of the army and the idea of expansion and depending and developing the army. Obviously, they got such a budget in the first year they couldn't spend it all. That really is down to the nationalism. Without a decent army, you can't make your country great again. Pause the tape. Yeah, definitely. Just to add to this is that Germany had a tradition of being run by a dictator. So the Weimar democracy was a bit of an example, a bit of a try at something new, and obviously hadn't worked out. So that's kind of why Hitler brought his ideas together and said, look, we've always had a strong man. We've had this democracy, it hasn't worked. Let's get back to a strong man. Pause the tape. Added to this, I think Germany had something like 33 parties when Hitler came to power. And obviously these 33 parties spent a lot of time talking, discussing, and finding it really difficult to come to a kind of majority agreement. I think Britain has 3 parties, so if one of them's the biggest party, then it's easy for them to get done what they want to do. But if you've got 33 parties, there's always kind of arguing, discussing, and many people in Germany just said the government aren't doing anything. They aren't doing anything to stop the depression that we're in. And Hitler said, well, let's get one man in me, and I'll get the job sorted. I'll really do something. And that was obviously popular. Pause the tape. So ordinary people won't have any kind of voice because there's no political parties to represent them, and it's just like a dictator and people acting like dictators to make things happen. So that's good if things are going well, but perhaps if they aren't, you're not going to have any voice to kind of get that out there, and that might have affected the popularity of it. Pause the tape. Yeah, this is really good this. I just add that obviously Hitler wanted to make the race pure. So by making sure that German people bred with other German Aryan people, he kept the race pure and kept the blood pure, and that's certainly something that he was definitely interested in, this idea of Germanic blood. Pause the tape. Also, just to add that perhaps Hitler backed up these views with lots of propaganda depicting inferior people, that's inferior in inverted commas people, as less kind of important to society and kind of spread lies about them and stuff like that, and spread other lies about how good the master race was to try and get as many people on board as possible. And like they've hinted at here, I think everybody wants to show they're special. Maybe that's why it was popular. Positive. Yeah, just to add to this, when it says that people below all other races below the Aryan race, Hitler had like a laddered view of like racism. So like the Aryan race was at the top, the British was somewhere near the top, and then towards the bottom was like Jewish people and black people. So he had like a ladder of view of kind of race, and which was better than the others. Positive. Yeah, it's good this. Just to add to it, socialism in this sense, in a way, means equality. And kind of everyone had an equal part to play in making Germany great. And that's where the socialism element comes into it. It wasn't that they were going to be paid the same or have the same rights. Well, they were going to have the same rights in a way that everyone had the equal part to play in making it great. Whether you were a peasant on the land, whether you were a worker in the factory, or whether you were a big business, you all had an equal part to play. And very much when you saw some of the images of the soldiers marching, everybody's in lines, everybody looks equal, okay? They may not be equal in like an economic sense, but in a social sense they're equally important. And that's what they kind of meant by socialism. Positive. Again, I like this approach, but I worry that it's too economic. And perhaps we should be thinking about the social idea of this socialism, of trying to make everybody sort of equal. These plans of every German worker having a house, car and a swimming pool in the village were never realised. They were just rhetoric, really. And ultimately that led to having to be kind of put down, because the SA actually wanted those socialist kind of economic aims. For Hitler, it's about this socialism. Everyone's got to play their part in the greater good. And actually, it's not a great deal different from a lot of countries in wartime. Think of Britain during the war. Everyone's doing their bit. Was a kind of socialist element in this idea, although everybody obviously wasn't earning the same. Positive. Yeah, and it still found support from the upper classes because they were losing their economic points. And not only was Hitler not doing that, but he was also an anti-communist. So many in the upper classes supported National Socialism because they didn't want to lose what they had to the communists. Positive. Yeah, just to add to this is that the German people are traditionally very class conscious. People like, oh, you know, I'm white collar, I'm better than you, you're blue collar. So I work in an office, that's white collar in a sense. Blue collar, like you work with your hands. Oh, I'm better than you. Oh, I'm a butcher, I own my own shop, I'm better than you. So Germany is very divided socially, and Hitler tried to cut through that with limited success, but he tried to cut through that and say to people, don't worry about being a butcher, an office worker, a manager, a factory hand. Worry about being a German first, and be all those things second. Didn't quite work out like that, but that's certainly what he tried to do. Be German first and then be the job second, and try and cut through that class consciousness and make everyone pull in the same direction. As I say, limited success, as we'll see. Positive. Yeah, I like this. I think the point about age is an important one that we've not really mentioned, that younger people were easier, more susceptible to Nazi ideology because they hadn't really known a world that was different. Older people sort of saw what Hitler was doing and thought, well, actually, no, I know the things are better and different, that are different are better. But younger people maybe didn't have another frame of reference and were therefore more easily sucked in. Obviously, Hitler claimed he was a party of the youth as well, which again went down well with the young people and made them feel more part of the Volksgemeinschaft than potentially older people, although we don't want to generalise. Let's pause the tip. I guess the aim was to try and make all Germans feel as if they were important, all Germans were part of something, and as I said earlier, to try and remove that class consciousness. This has been a really good effort, AS. Well done. It's your final time to pause the tip.